Hey everyone, it's Richard Metal Fan here, bringing you guys a brand new 2020 album review. And today we're going to be looking into the new album from the band August Burns Red, entitled Guardians, which came out through Fearless Records. Now, everybody should probably at least have heard of August Burns Red if you're a fan of metalcore or part of that whole melodic metalcore style. Well, they're a band that formed in 2003 in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. And for me, August Burns Red are one of those bands, especially those good, really great metalcore bands. I don't even know how to describe them. I pretty much could describe them as consistent. And for me, they're one of those bands that have, for me, never failed to release a bad album. Everything they've done is pretty much spot on. And you could definitely tell with each album, they're basically are a metalcore band. There's no denying that. But I feel they have pretty much experimented with a little bit. But you could definitely tell if you play me a few seconds from each song, I could be able to tell what album it is. They also incorporated different elements. But let's just start with their first album, which came out in 2005, which would be Thrill Seeker, which is kind of a solid start. It had a different lineup from then, but it wasn't until their next album, being 2007's Messengers, where they have the lineup they have now, consisting of Jake Lors on vocals, J.B. Brubaker and Brent Rambler on guitars, Dustin Davidson on bass, and Matt Greiner on drums. And they pretty much had the same lineup since then, which is hard to believe. Their lineup hasn't changed in 14 years, which is impressive. And then they put out 2009's Constellations. For the occasion, I'm wearing my Constellations 10-year anniversary tour shirt, which is pretty much from when I last saw them about a little over a year ago, almost a year ago. But anyway, but it wasn't until around 2011's A Leveler where the band changed things up, adding samba stuff in different styles, but while still retaining a sound that they pretty much are known by. And that's pretty much, I love what I consider a different era for August Burns Red. But then 2012, which, unless if you count this as part of their main discography, they released The Sun Hill, which is just a compilation of Christmas songs. They actually do Christmas songs pretty well. But then 2013, we got Rescue and Restore, which I thought was a really good album. But I feel I don't even know what to say. I love it. But I feel they changed it up a little bit with 2015's Found in Faraway Places, which is a pretty good album. And then their previous album, which came out in 2017, Phantom Anthem, that was a pretty good album. But with this new album, Guardians, does it live up or top what Phantom Anthem has? In my honest opinion, I think it definitely has. I feel the band kind of stepped it up a bit. Vocally, they've, Jake Lors can do no wrong. His growls and just screams. I just how the way he enunciates his words while yelling is just great. And there's actually just the guitar work from J.B. Brubaker and Brent Rambler is just tight. The way that August Burns Red does it is they just incorporate the melody guitar carry the melody, and the vocals carry the aggression. And then JB comes up with some really great melodies and guitar solos, and just Brent holding down the rhythm wise. Bass wise, that's pretty audible. Dustin Davidson in my opinion, I feel he's the most talented guy. If you ever seen any of his videos on Instagram or something, he does he plays bass, guitar, and drums. He also does some vocal backup screams. He has more higher screams than Jake, and he actually does some clean vocals, which is amazing. And drumming wise, Matt Greiner, I think this dude's so underrated. He deserves more recognition, but that's just me. So yeah, without further ado, and I've rambled on for about 4 minutes, let's just dive this album track by track. Now, starting things off is the narrative, which is a solid opening track, and this song just grips the listener right from the opening note, and the main riff carries a tantalizing vibe throughout this whole track. Good way to start off this album. Next song on here is Bones, which for me, this song kind of reminds me of something that would be heard from Leveler, where it just has a lot of the heaviness from that, but also has a little bit of mix of Rescue and Restore, and I definitely love it. It's the intensity of this track carries up, the intensity of this track carries on the insane momentum discovered earlier, and just makes for an exhilarating listen. And then it sort of like goes into the next song, Paramount, which has a slow fade in of clean guitars, which kicks into just a fast melodic riff that would be like you would hear in like a video game or like a comic book boss fight. And throughout the verse, sort of like Brent is sort of like holding down a sweet rhythm while JB sort of like plays some tasteful leads over the top. And there are some two smaller breakdowns which divides the song into sort of different sections, but the latter taking us back to like the verse riff and the vocals. Then we get to Defender, which I believe was the first song that was released from this album, which is an absolute ripper with sort of like technical guitar work, some catchy shallow long vocals, and not one but two breakdowns. Then we go into the most interesting song on here, which is Lighthouse, which I would say is a ballad of the album. It is heavy and melodic, and it takes you away, and the snare hits you like a wave crashing into a lighthouse of a heavy storm, and very much where it creates like a spoken word section towards the end of the song. And it hits you deep into the core feelings and power of this track, and I feel like this Lighthouse is like a powerhouse of feelings. Great song, just very melodic like, as well. There we go to Dismembered Memory, and the solos on here are an unexpected treat, and the solo pretty much goes straight into a filthy breakdown which will melt your face, which kind of similar to a little bit with the next song, Ties That Bind, which has some cool tom fills in here, and it moves in and out of many different tempos, which is pretty much what I like about August Burns Red. They pretty much just go in and out. Then we go into Bloodletter, which this song pretty much perfectly mirrors the classic sound of August Burns Red. And this is a track for the old fans. The song sort of like disjointed element makes it even more of an impactful track, which is a definitely stand out in like the second half of the album. Extinct by Instinct, which pretty much graces us with a brilliant bass line and solo from the great Dustin Davidson, which leads straight into some guttural vocals of Jake and just some very great crushing guitars. Next song on the album is called Empty Heaven, which is very heavy and has lots of breakdowns, and I love the guitar riffs, and it has like a ton of harmonies to it. And then the album closes with Three Fountains, its initially mellow introduction gives the listener a break from the relentless power of the rest of the album, and it's a remarkable 6 minutes, and this is like the longest song on the album, which I would consider sort of like the epic, or it's pretty much an epic way to end this album, which definitely makes this stand out against the rest. Now overall, Guardians by August Burns Red is a pretty good album. Like, these guys can do no wrong. They could they've pretty much been experimenting since 2011. Then while their first three albums are just metalcore, but I feel like after that they've pretty much experimented while trying to retain the sound of what they are. Alright, so I'm gonna give this album a score. I'm probably gonna give this a solid 8.5 or a 9 out of 10. So yep, that's my review of the new August Burns Red, guys. Let me know in the comments what you guys think about it, and I'll see you all in the next video. And as always, keep it metal.